Thous the night slowly settles in, and everything becomes calm and quiet. It's the perfect moment to listen to a fairy tale, a story that has been softly told from one generation to the next. Tonight, we will journey together into a timeless narrative, one filled with magic, mystery, and the quiet power of love. Imagine yourself drifting into a world where ancient castles hold dark secrets, where enchanted objects whisper tales of old, and where the most unexpected hearts can find solace and connection. Feel the gentle warmth of your blanket, picture the flickering glow of a distant fire, and let your mind wander to a place where anything is possible. But before the story truly begins, you should get comfortable. Take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. So, make yourself comfortable, let the outside world fade away, and let tonight's story begin. Settle in, relax, and allow the quiet magic of the tale to carry you through the night. Once upon a time, nestled in a bustling city renowned for its grand marketplaces and towering ships, lived a wealthy merchant. His life, and indeed the lives of his 3 daughters, was one of abundant prosperity, marked by lavish silks, sparkling jewels, and a home filled with the finest treasures from distant lands. The merchant, a kind-hearted man with a generous spirit, adored all his daughters, but none quite captured his heart and gentle admiration as his youngest, whose name was Belle. Her spirit shone brighter than any jewel, and her beauty, a quiet grace that radiated from within, was matched only by her intelligence and her unwavering kindness. While her elder sisters, much like many young women of their time, dreamt of grand balls, elegant gowns, and marrying wealthy noblemen, Belle found her truest joy in the pages of a beloved book, or in a quiet stroll through a blooming garden, her mind alight with stories and wonders. Their days were a tapestry woven with ease and luxury. The merchant's ships, laden with exotic spices, precious metals, and rare fabrics, sailed the open seas, bringing him ever-increasing fortune. He delighted in showering his daughters with gifts, fulfilling their every desire, though Belle's desires were always simple, usually a new book or a quiet afternoon to herself. Her sisters, on the other hand, reveled in their wealth, demanding the latest fashions, hosting extravagant parties, and dreaming of even greater riches. They were beautiful, in a more conventional and outwardly showy way than Belle, but their hearts, unfortunately, were often filled with vanity and a touch of jealousy towards their gentle sister, whose quiet charm seemed to captivate everyone she met. Life, however, has a peculiar way of reminding us of its fleeting nature, especially when we least expect it. One fateful season, the merchant received news that struck him down like a sudden, brutal storm. All his ships, every single vessel that carried his vast fortune, had been lost at sea. A series of violent tempests, one after another, had swallowed them whole, along with their precious cargo and the livelihoods of many good men. The sea, which had once been the source of his boundless wealth, had become an insatiable monster, devouring everything he owned. Overnight, the merchant was ruined. His grand house, his magnificent warehouses, his entire fortune, all were gone, swept away by an unforeseen tide of misfortune. The bustling city, which had once celebrated his success, now turned its back on his despair. Creditors arrived like vultures, stripping away every possession. The silk gowns, the glittering jewels, the antique furniture, everything was taken, leaving the once opulent family with nothing but their clothes and a handful of cherished personal items. The merchant, a man accustomed to respect and influence, found himself a pauper, his once proud shoulders now stooped with the crushing weight of his sudden poverty. His elder daughters, who had never known hardship, were inconsolable. They wailed and lamented their lost luxuries, blaming their father for their misfortune, their tears more for their vanished comfort than for their family's deeper plight. Belle, however, though saddened by their changed circumstances, faced the future with a quiet fortitude. She offered her father gentle comfort and did her best to soothe her sister's distress, understanding that complaining would do nothing to bring back their lost fortune. With no other choice, the family was forced to leave their beloved city home. They retreated to a small, dilapidated cottage in a remote countryside village, a humble dwelling that the merchant still owned, a forgotten relic from a time before his great success. It was a stark contrast to the life they had known. No bustling markets, no grand salons, just the quiet whispers of the wind through the trees, and the simple rhythm of rural life. The elder sisters found the move unbearable. They grumbled constantly about the lack of fine food, the rustic chores, and the absence of society. Their hands, accustomed to delicate embroidery and holding fans, now had to learn the rough work of the countryside. But Belle, with her resilient spirit, adapted quickly. She embraced the simplicity, finding beauty in the wild flowers and comfort in the quiet solitude. She helped her father with the gardening, cooked simple meals, and still found time to lose herself in the few books she had managed to save. She understood that true happiness did not lie in material possessions, but in the love and well-being of her family. Despite their dramatic change in fortune, a flicker of hope remained within the merchant. He clung to the rumor that perhaps, just perhaps, one of his ships might have miraculously survived the storms, making it safely to a distant port. It was a faint hope, but it was all he had left to cling to in the face of such overwhelming despair. The days in the countryside cottage blurred into weeks, marked by hard work and simple meals. Yet the merchant's spirit, though weary, never fully extinguished the ember of that one desperate hope. He heard whispers from travelers passing through the village, a vague, tantalizing rumor that one of his lost ships, miraculously spared from the tempest's fury, had indeed limped into port, thousands of miles away, its cargo largely intact. This news, a fragile lifeline in a sea of despair, ignited a flicker of his old determination. He saw it as a sign, a chance to reclaim a fraction of what was lost, to restore comfort to his daughters, especially his gentle Belle, who bore their hardship with such grace. With a heavy heart and a renewed sense of purpose, he prepared for a perilous journey. He bade his daughters farewell, promising to return with news, hopefully good, but not daring to specify the nature of his quest, for fear of raising false hopes or undue anxieties. His journey was long and arduous, spanning many weeks, through dense forests and over treacherous mountains. The roads were rough, the weather unpredictable, and the inns sparse and unwelcoming. He faced bitter winds that bit through his thin cloak and rain that soaked him to the bone, reminding him constantly of his changed circumstances. His horses, too, grew weary, their hooves struggling on the uneven terrain. As he neared the supposed port, a fierce blizzard descended upon him with a sudden icy wrath. The wind howled like a hungry wolf, whipping snow into a blinding white curtain. The path ahead vanished, swallowed by the swirling flakes, and the trees around him became ghostly, indistinct shapes. He pushed onward, desperately hoping to find shelter, his teeth chattering, his hands numb with cold. His horse, exhausted and disoriented, stumbled. Fear, cold and sharp, began to prick at his heart. He knew he was lost, deep within an unfamiliar and unforgiving wilderness, with night rapidly falling and the temperature plummeting. Just as despair threatened to consume him, a faint glow pierced the swirling snow. A distant, warm light that seemed utterly out of place in such a desolate landscape. With newfound resolve, he urged his weary horse towards it, his heart pounding with a mixture of hope and trepidation. As he drew closer, the light resolved into the grand silhouette of a magnificent castle, rising majestically from the snow-covered grounds. It was an astonishing sight, a marvel of architecture, yet eerily silent, devoid of any sign of life. Intrigued and desperate for warmth, he cautiously approached the massive oak doors, which, to his surprise, swung open silently as he neared. He led his horse into the deserted courtyard, noticing that despite the blizzard raging outside, the air within the castle grounds was remarkably still and calm. He dismounted, tying his horse to a stable post, and stepped inside the vast, echoing hall. What he found astonished him. A roaring fire blazed in a grand fireplace, casting a warm, inviting glow across the polished marble floors. A sumptuous meal, still steaming, lay spread upon a large dining table, as if awaiting a feast, and yet there was no one. Not a single servant, not a single sound, save for the crackling fire and the distant moan of the wind outside. Despite the uncanny silence, the warmth and the promise of sustenance were too enticing to resist. He ate heartily, his hunger appeased, and then, feeling his weariness weigh heavily upon him, he found a comfortable bed in a lavish chamber, where he promptly fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. The next morning, he awoke feeling refreshed, the nightmare of the blizzard fading like a bad dream. Another fresh meal had been laid out for him, and fresh clothes awaited, as if by magic. He felt a profound sense of gratitude towards the unseen host, whoever they might be. Before departing, he went to the stables to retrieve his horse, which he found well fed and groomed. As he made his way back through the castle grounds, he recalled a conversation with Belle, a quiet moment from their time in the cottage. While her sisters had listed costly gowns and sparkling jewels, Belle had only asked for one simple gift should his fortunes ever turn, a single rose. Her words echoed in his mind, a gentle request for a symbol of beauty amidst their hardship. As he passed through the castle's exquisite gardens, he saw them, a magnificent bed of crimson roses, their petals still vibrant and unfrozen, despite the harsh winter air. They were the most beautiful roses he had ever seen, each bloom a perfect symphony of deep red velvet. Remembering Belle's wish and thinking of her selfless nature, he decided to pluck one for her. It seemed a small token of thanks for the hospitality he had received. A harmless gesture. He reached out, his fingers closing around the stem of the most perfect bloom. But the moment his hand touched the rose, a terrifying roar shattered the silence of the garden. A monstrous figure, immense and terrifying, burst forth from the shadows. It was a beast, unlike anything he had ever seen, with a shaggy mane, sharp claws, and eyes that blazed with furious wrath. Its voice, a deep growl that seemed to shake the very foundations of the castle, bellowed, "Ungrateful wretch! I saved your life, offered you shelter and food, and in return, you steal my most precious possession. You, who have enjoyed my hospitality, dare to pluck my cherished rose, the very symbol of my existence. For this trespass, you shall pay with your life." The merchant, trembling with fear, dropped the rose and fell to his knees, pleading for mercy. He explained about his daughter's simple wish, his intention not to offend, his profound gratitude. But the beast was unmoved. Its fury seemed boundless. "Your excuses mean nothing to me. You shall die for your theft. Unless you send one of your daughters to take your place." One of them must come willingly to this castle and live here in your stead. If you fail to bring one of your daughters back within 3 months, then you shall return alone, and I will take your life then." The beast's gaze, piercing and terrifying, fixed upon him, leaving no doubt that this was not an idle threat. The merchant, heartbroken and despairing, could only nod, his voice choked with terror. He had found his fortune, only to lose it again, and now, perhaps, lose his beloved daughter too. He clutched the single fateful rose, a symbol now not of love, but of a terrible, life-altering pact, and began his long, sorrowful journey home, the beast's chilling ultimatum echoing in his ears. The journey home for the merchant was a torment far greater than his initial voyage. Each step was heavy, each breath a struggle against the crushing weight of the impossible choice laid before him. He had returned with the news of his ship's salvage, a small victory, but it was overshadowed by the horrifying pact he had made. The vibrant crimson rose, which he still clutched, now felt like a burning coal in his hand, a tangible representation of his despair and the cruel fate awaiting his family. How could he possibly tell his daughters that one of them must sacrifice her freedom and potentially her life for his sake? How could he choose? When he finally arrived at their humble cottage, weeks later, haggard and pale, his daughters rushed out to greet him. The elder sisters, still absorbed in their lost comforts, immediately began to question him about their returned wealth, their eyes alight with greedy anticipation. Belle, however, saw beyond the material. She saw the deep lines of suffering etched on her father's face, the trembling in his hands, and the profound sorrow in his eyes. Her heart ached for him, knowing instinctively that something terrible had befallen him. After sharing a simple meal, the merchant, his voice barely a whisper, recounted his harrowing tale. He spoke of the blizzard, the miraculous castle, the unseen hospitality, and then, with tears streaming down his face, he described the terrifying beast and its chilling ultimatum. He held out the single magnificent rose, now withered and dark, its beauty gone, symbolizing the tragic turn of events. "One of you," he choked out, "must go, or I must return to face my death." The cottage, which had moments ago been filled with the chatter of reunion, fell into a stunned, horrified silence. The elder sisters, true to their nature, erupted into loud wails and protests. "It's your fault, father," one cried, blaming him for plucking the rose. "How could you be so foolish?" exclaimed the other, their self-preservation paramount. They declared loudly that they would never go, that they would sooner die than live with such a monster. Their fear was palpable, but so was their selfishness. They wept, not for their father's impossible choice, but for the horrifying prospect of their own involvement, however remote. They refused even to consider such a sacrifice, seeing only the monstrousness of the beast and the loss of their own lives. Belle, however, remained quietly composed, though her heart was twisting with anguish. She listened to her sister's protests, and then, her gentle voice clear and unwavering, she spoke. "Father," she said softly, "you have always been good to us, always put our happiness before your own. This burden is mine. I will go to the beast's castle." Her words hung in the air, silencing her sister's protests and making her father's head snap up in disbelief. "No, my dear Belle, absolutely not," he cried, his voice hoarse with emotion. "I would rather die 1,000 deaths than send my sweetest, most loving daughter to such a fate. It was my mistake, my theft, and I alone must pay the price." He tried to reason with her, to persuade her to stay, to convince her that his life was not worth such a sacrifice from her. He painted a vivid picture of the beast's terrifying appearance, the isolating grandeur of the castle, hoping to deter her. But Belle was resolute. "Father," she insisted, her gaze firm and full of love, You would never survive without me. Who would care for you? Who would tend to this cottage? Besides, she added, a hint of steel in her gentle tone, the beast's anger was for a stolen rose. Perhaps, if I go willingly, if I show him kindness and understanding, he will not be as cruel as he appears. At least, she paused, her voice softening, I can try to appease him. If you do not return, he will surely hunt you down. This way, at least one of us has a chance. She understood that her father's grief would be unbearable if he had to face the beast again, knowing he was condemned. She could not bear the thought of him dying alone. Her sisters, seeing an escape from their own fate, quickly began to support Belle's decision, showering her with false praise for her bravery, even though their relief was thinly veiled. The merchant, though heartbroken, eventually saw the undeniable logic in Belle's plea. He knew his own spirit was too broken to face the beast again, and the thought of his death leaving his daughters truly orphaned, especially his fragile Belle, was unbearable. He wept, holding her close, feeling the bitter sting of injustice that his beloved child should bear such a burden. My brave Belle, he whispered, what have I done to you? With heavy hearts, preparations were made for Belle's departure. Her sisters, strangely quiet now, watched her with a mixture of envy and relief. They offered no comfort, no genuine sorrow, only a chilling eagerness for her to leave, as if her absence would somehow erase their own impending poverty. Belle, however, spent her last days in the cottage comforting her father, reassuring him, and trying to memorize every detail of their simple home, knowing she might never see it again. She picked a small wildflower from the garden, pressing it carefully between the pages of her favorite book, a tiny memento of the life she was leaving behind. When the appointed day arrived, the merchant, his face etched with sorrow, led Belle to the castle. The journey back was silent, each step echoing the unspoken fears in their hearts. Belle, though outwardly calm, felt a tremor of apprehension deep within her. She tried to imagine what awaited her. A monstrous prison, a life of fear, an unknown future. Yet, beneath the fear, lay a quiet resolve. She had made her choice, not out of naive courage, but out of profound love for her father. As they approached the ominous silhouette of the castle once more, she held her father's hand tightly, a silent farewell to the life she knew, and a brave, if terrified, step into the unknown. The grand gates, which had once seemed a beacon of hope, now loomed like the entrance to a dark and fearsome destiny. The massive iron gates of the beast's castle swung open with a slow, mournful creak as Belle and her father approached, as if the very structure was sighing at her arrival. The air grew still, heavy with an unseen presence. Belle clutched her father's hand tighter, her heart thumping a frantic rhythm against her ribs. The grand courtyard, though swept clean of snow, seemed to radiate a cold, silent welcome that sent a shiver down her spine. The castle, even in the morning light, held an air of ancient mystery, its stone walls seeming to absorb all sound, leaving an echoing quietness that amplified her apprehension. As they stepped into the vast main hall, the same haunting silence enveloped them. The magnificent chandeliers, the opulent tapestries, the gleaming marble floors all spoke of immense wealth and forgotten glory. Yet there was no warmth, no sign of life. Belle's gaze swept nervously across the grand space, half expecting the beast to burst forth at any moment. Her father, his shoulders slumped, squeezed her hand one last time, a silent plea for forgiveness and a goodbye too painful for words. Suddenly, a deep guttural growl reverberated through the hall, making Belle jump. The beast emerged from the shadows at the far end of the room, a towering, formidable presence. His shaggy fur, sharp claws, and gleaming teeth were as terrifying as her father had described. But it was his eyes that truly held her, dark, piercing, yet with a flicker of something she couldn't quite decipher, a hint of sorrow, perhaps, beneath the raw anger. So, the beast rumbled, his voice like stones grinding together. "You have kept your word, old man, and you." He turned his gaze to Belle, his eyes narrowing. "You have come willingly." Belle, though trembling, gathered all her courage. She looked directly into his fierce eyes. "Yes, I have," she replied, her voice steady despite the tremor in her heart. "I have come to take my father's place." The beast stared at her for a long moment, his gaze unnervingly intense, as if trying to discern the truth in her words. Then, with a curt nod, he addressed the merchant. "Leave at once. Your daughter is my prisoner now. If you ever return, your life will be forfeit." Her father, heartbroken and defeated, could only nod mutely, tears streaming down his face as he turned and slowly walked out, leaving Belle alone in the vast hall with the terrifying beast. The heavy doors closed behind him with a resounding thud, sealing her fate. The silence that followed was deafening. Belle stood rooted to the spot, expecting the worst. But the beast, instead of roaring or making threats, simply watched her. After a long, uncomfortable moment, he finally spoke, his voice slightly less menacing now, though still deep and rough. "You must be hungry. Follow me." He turned and lumbered towards a smaller, yet equally lavish dining room. Belle, hesitant but knowing she had no choice, followed him, her steps barely audible on the polished floor. The dining room was a feast for the eyes, adorned with intricate carvings and a long, laden table. Plates of exquisite food, from roasted meats to delicate pastries, were spread before them. The beast sat at the head of the table, motioning for Belle to take the seat opposite him. "Eat," he commanded, his eyes still fixed on her. Belle, though her stomach was knotted with fear, recognized the necessity of sustenance. She cautiously began to eat, trying to appear composed, acutely aware of the beast's watchful gaze. During the meal, the beast remained mostly silent, only occasionally asking a direct question, his tone brusque. "Are you cold? Is the food to your liking?" His questions were devoid of warmth, yet lacked outright cruelty, leaving Belle confused about his true nature. She answered politely, trying to be respectful, yet careful not to provoke him. The strange, quiet dinner ended, and the beast, without another word, stood up. "Follow me," he repeated, leading her through dimly lit corridors to a magnificent chamber. The room was breathtaking. Silk drapes adorned the windows. A plush carpet cushioned her feet, and a grand four-poster bed, canopied and piled high with soft pillows, dominated the space. A roaring fire crackled in the hearth, chasing away the chill. A large wardrobe stood open, revealing an array of the most beautiful gowns Belle had ever seen, in every color and fabric imaginable. A vast library, filled with countless books, lined one wall, making Belle's heart leap with a flicker of joy, despite her circumstances. This was not a prison cell, it was a queen's suite. "This will be your room," the beast stated, his voice a low rumble. "You are mistress of this castle. Anything you desire, you have but to ask. You are free to roam wherever you wish, except for the West Wing. That is forbidden." His eyes held a warning as he mentioned the forbidden wing, a hint of the ferocity she had first witnessed. "I will come for you each night after dinner to ask you a question. Remember what I said. You are mistress here. Make yourself comfortable." With that, he turned and lumbered out of the room, leaving Belle alone in the overwhelming luxury. Belle stood amidst the splendor, her mind reeling. This was so unlike the prison she had imagined. She explored the room, marveling at the delicate trinkets on the dressing table, the soft robes laid out for her, and most especially, the endless rows of books. A wave of exhaustion, both physical and emotional, washed over her. She changed into a soft silk gown, her fingers tracing the unfamiliar fabric, and sat by the fire, trying to process the day's events. The beast was terrifying, yes, but his actions were confusing. He had been brusque, but not cruel. He had offered luxury, not deprivation. She was a prisoner, yet given such freedom within these walls. As the fire crackled, casting dancing shadows on the walls, Belle wondered what kind of life awaited her in this enchanted, mysterious castle, a place both frightening and strangely magnificent. The gentle whispers of the unseen magic seemed to hum around her, a constant reminder of the extraordinary circumstances into which she had been thrust. The days in the beast's castle settled into a strange and bewildering routine for Belle. Her chamber was indeed a sanctuary of comfort and beauty, a stark contrast to the fears that still gnawed at her heart. She spent hours exploring the vast library, losing herself in the stories, the scent of old paper and leather, a familiar comfort in this unfamiliar world. She discovered hidden alcoves, grand ballrooms draped in dust sheets, and sprawling gardens where even in winter, certain plants seemed to retain a mysterious vibrancy. Yet, despite the opulent surroundings and the freedom to wander, a profound sense of isolation began to settle upon her. She was mistress of a magnificent dwelling, yet utterly alone, save for the unseen forces that kept the fires lit, the meals prepared, and the castle perfectly maintained. It was as if the very air whispered with ancient magic, responsive to her unvoiced needs, yet offering no companionship. The beast himself remained a figure of both terror and perplexing gentleness. Each evening, after she had dined alone in the grand dining room, always with a lavish spread of food appearing as if by magic, the beast would arrive. He would stand awkwardly at the doorway, his immense form filling the archway, his eyes fixed on her. The air would thicken with tension, and Belle's heart would invariably quicken its pace. He never joined her for dinner, never sat close, always keeping a respectful yet intimidating distance. Their nightly ritual began with his simple yet deeply anticipated question. "Belle," he would begin, his voice a low rumble, less menacing now than in their initial encounters. "Will you do me the honor of being my wife?" Each night, Belle would feel a tremor of fear, a wave of pity, and a pang of sadness. How could she marry such a creature, so monstrous in appearance, so unknown in heart? She would gently but firmly decline. "No, beast," she would reply, her voice soft but clear. The beast would sigh, a sound like wind through a cavern, and turn, leaving her alone once more. His departure was always accompanied by a profound sadness in his eyes, a sorrow that puzzled Belle, hinting at a depth of feeling she hadn't expected from such a fearsome being. As the weeks passed, Belle began to observe subtle changes in the beast. He seemed to watch her more intently during their brief evening encounters, his gaze following her movements, a silent yearning in his eyes. He started leaving her little gifts, a rare flower from the Enchanted garden, a beautiful piece of music waiting for her on the harpsichord, even new books from the library that seemed to appear overnight. These gestures, though wordless, began to chip away at her initial fear, replacing it with a growing curiosity. She began to see beyond his monstrous exterior, catching glimpses of an underlying sorrow, a profound loneliness that mirrored her own. One evening, emboldened by his continued, albeit awkward kindness, Belle ventured to speak more to him. "Beast," she began, after he had asked his usual question and she had given her usual refusal. "Why do you ask me this every night?" "You know my answer." He paused, his large head slightly tilted, his gaze unwavering. "Because, Belle," he rumbled, his voice laced with a raw vulnerability she hadn't heard before, "I am lonely. Terribly, profoundly lonely. And I hoped you might, one day, find it in your heart to care for me. I hope that my kindness might someday win your affection." Belle was stunned. His honesty, his unveiled sorrow, touched something deep within her. It was the first time he had truly expressed himself beyond simple commands and questions. "But, Beast," she replied gently, "you are so different, and I am a prisoner here. How can I even begin to consider such a thing?" He nodded, a heavy sigh escaping him. "I know, my appearance is a curse. My nature, it is complicated. But I promise you, I mean you no harm. I only wish for companionship, for someone who might see beyond this wretched form." Their conversations slowly grew longer after that, sometimes extending for an hour or more each night. Belle would talk about the books she was reading, the garden she was exploring, the simple joys she missed from her old life. The Beast, in turn, would listen intently, his fearsome features seeming to soften slightly as she spoke. He would offer insights, sometimes surprisingly articulate and thoughtful, revealing a mind far more educated and refined than his outward appearance suggested. He learned of her love for nature, her gentle spirit, and her longing for intellectual stimulation. She, in turn, began to understand that beneath the rough exterior lay a soul that was suffering, a heart yearning for acceptance and understanding. He never forced her, never threatened her, never even raised his voice in anger towards her after that first day. He simply asked his question, respected her answer, and continued to show her quiet acts of consideration. Belle often wondered about the forbidden West Wing, its mystery a constant nagging thought in her mind. But she honored the Beast's request, sensing that the secret was intrinsically linked to his pain, a boundary he desperately needed her to respect. One evening, weeks into her stay, Belle felt a pang of genuine empathy for him. He looked particularly downcast after her refusal. "Beast," she said softly, "I do not dislike you. Indeed, I find myself growing accustomed to your company, but I cannot lie to you. My heart is not yet ready for what you ask, and I miss my father terribly. I worry for him constantly." The Beast's shoulders slumped. "I understand," he rumbled, his voice heavy with disappointment, yet without anger. His words, though simple, confirmed to Belle that he was not merely a monster, but a complex being capable of understanding and feeling deep emotion. The luxurious isolation, though comfortable, was still a gilded cage, and her heart longed for the simple warmth of her family, a longing that the Beast, in his own strange way, seemed to recognize and respect. As the days turned into weeks, Belle's routine in the Enchanted Castle became a delicate balance between the opulent comfort and the lingering ache of separation from her family. She grew accustomed to the Beast's nightly visits, his gentle questions, and her soft refusals. She found herself looking forward to their conversations, surprised by the Beast's intelligence and his quiet, mournful wit. Her fear of him had softened, replaced by a complex blend of pity, curiosity, and even a nascent, unspoken affection for the sad, lonely creature. Yet, despite the growing understanding between them, her thoughts constantly drifted back to her father and sisters, wondering how they fared in the humble cottage. The gilded cage, no matter how beautiful, was still a cage. One evening, as the Beast made his usual request, "Belle, will you be my wife?" Her answer was the familiar, "No, Beast," but her voice held a new tremor of sadness. He noticed it immediately. "Is something troubling you, Belle?" he asked, his deep voice surprisingly tender. She hesitated, then confessed, "Yes, Beast. I am worried about my father. It has been so long since I have seen him. I do not know if he is well or ill. I fear he may be lonely too, and perhaps struggling without me." A shadow seemed to pass over the Beast's face. He knew his bargain had caused her great sorrow, and he also knew the terrible consequences if she were to leave. He considered her words for a long moment, then turned and walked to a grand, ornate mirror that hung in the corner of the room. It was unlike any mirror Belle had ever seen, its frame intricately carved with what looked like ancient symbols. "Look into this mirror, Belle," he rumbled, his voice strained. "It is an enchanted mirror. It will show you whatever you wish to see." Belle, her heart pounding with anticipation, stepped forward and peered into the mirror. "I wish to see my father," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The silver surface of the mirror shimmered, swirling like mist, and then, slowly, a clear image began to form. There, in their small, rustic cottage, was her father. He looked frail, his face pale and drawn, his eyes hollow with worry. He was sitting by the dying embers of the fireplace, his head in his hands, coughing weakly. He appeared ill and utterly alone, his sisters nowhere to be seen. A wave of profound grief and fear washed over Belle. Her father, her kind, gentle father, was suffering, perhaps dying, and she was trapped far away, unable to help him. "Oh, Father," she cried out, tears springing to her eyes. "He is ill. He is so very ill. I must go to him, Beast. Please, you must let me go." She turned to him, her face pleading, desperate. The Beasts watched her, his expression unreadable, a battle of emotions raging within his dark eyes. He knew that letting her go meant risking everything, risking his only hope, for breaking the terrible enchantment that bound him. The rose, which had lost all its petals save one, reminded him of the urgency. But to deny her this, to watch her suffer so, felt like a cruelty he was unwilling to inflict. Finally, with a heavy sigh that seemed to carry the weight of ages, he spoke. "Belle," he said, his voice softer than she had ever heard it. "You may go to your father, but you must promise me one thing." Belle looked at him, hope flickering in her eyes. "Anything, Beast. I promise anything," she exclaimed. "You must promise to return to me in 1 week's time," he stipulated, his gaze intense, seeking assurance. "If you do not return, I shall die of sorrow. And," he added, his voice dropping to a low rumble, "I will give you this ring. When you wish to return, simply place it upon your finger, and you will be instantly transported back to the castle." He took a small, simple gold ring from his finger, its surface unadorned, and placed it gently in her trembling hand. Belle, overwhelmed with gratitude and relief, nodded vigorously. "I promise, Beast. I promise I will return in exactly 1 week." Thank you," she could hardly believe her ears. Freedom, even temporary, was within her grasp. She looked at the ring, then back at the Beast, a flicker of something akin to warmth blooming in her chest. His sacrifice, his willingness to risk his own sorrow for her happiness, was a profound act of selflessness she hadn't expected. "Go now, Belle," the Beast said, turning away, unable to meet her gaze, the effort of his decision visibly costing him. "Go to your father." With a final, heartfelt look at the Beast, Belle pressed the ring onto her finger. In an instant, the grand hall of the Beast's castle dissolved around her, replaced by the familiar, cozy interior of her father's cottage. She found herself standing directly beside his armchair, the scent of wood smoke and damp earth filling her senses. Her father, hearing the sudden sound, looked up, his eyes widening in disbelief, and then flooding with overwhelming joy as he saw his beloved Belle standing before him, safe and sound. "Belle, my darling Belle," he cried, tears of relief streaming down his face as he reached out to embrace her. Belle knelt beside him, holding him tightly, tears of her own mixing with his. "Oh, Father, I was so worried. Are you well? What has happened?" Her father, though still weak, felt a surge of strength at the sight of her. He recounted his loneliness, his constant worry for her, and how he had slowly fallen ill from grief and despair Since her departure, he had missed her terribly. The cottage, too, showed signs of neglect, confirming her fears. Her sisters, she learned, had left to try and seek their own fortunes in a neighboring town, abandoning their ailing father. A pang of disappointment, though not surprise, went through Belle. Belle spent the next few hours tending to her father, preparing him a warm broth, tidying the cottage, and simply holding his hand, reassuring him of her presence. The joy of their reunion was immense, yet beneath it, the clock of her promise to the beast had already begun its inexorable ticking. A constant reminder of the limited time she had before she must return to the castle and the lonely beast who awaited her. The reunion with her father was a bittersweet symphony of joy and underlying dread. Belle busied herself with his care, tending to his ailments with the same gentle devotion she had always shown. She cooked him nourishing meals, made sure the fire was roaring warmly, and simply sat by his side, telling him stories of the beast's castle, carefully omitting the terrifying aspects and focusing on the grandeur of the library, the beauty of the gardens, and the beast's surprising kindnesses. Her father, slowly regaining his strength, listened intently, tears often welling in his eyes as he looked at his brave, selfless daughter. News of Belle's unexpected return quickly spread through the quiet village. Her two elder sisters, having found little success in their greedy ventures in the neighboring town, soon heard the rumors and, driven by a mixture of curiosity and thinly veiled envy, decided to return to the cottage. They arrived with feigned concern and dramatic sighs, enveloping Belle in effusive embraces that felt hollow and insincere. "Oh, our dearest Belle, we were so worried," they cried, their eyes scanning the humble cottage for any sign of her newfound wealth. When they saw the simple surroundings, their initial disappointment was palpable. They had expected her to return adorned with jewels, a living testament to some magical fortune. However, as Belle recounted her experiences, carefully describing the opulence of the castle, the lavish gowns, and the endless library, their envy quickly turned to malice. They saw that Belle, despite her sacrifice, had lived a life of luxury, while they had endured hardship and failed aspirations. The thought of Belle potentially marrying a wealthy, albeit monstrous lord, filled them with a bitter resentment. Their beautiful sister, whom they had always secretly envied for her inner grace and pure heart, was now potentially set for a life of comfort, even power, while they struggled. A wicked plan began to form in their minds, a scheme fueled by jealousy and selfishness. They knew of Belle's promise to return to the beast in 1 week. If they could somehow delay her, prevent her from keeping her word, the beast would surely become enraged. Perhaps he would then consume her, or, at the very least, imprison her forever, leaving their path clear to whatever meager inheritance their father might still have, or to simply enjoy Belle's misfortune. They convinced themselves that they were simply trying to save her from a monstrous fate, but their true motives were far more sinister. They began their manipulative work subtly at first, weaving their web of deceit around Belle. "Oh, Belle," one sister would lament, "Father is looking so much better, but he seems so fragile. He needs you here just a little longer." The other would add, "Indeed, his cough seems to return when you're out of sight. You must stay by his side, dearest sister." The beast surely would understand such devotion. They showered her with false affection, reminding her constantly of her father's delicate health and exaggerating his every sigh and cough. They made her feel guilty at the mere thought of leaving him, preying on her inherent kindness and her deep love for her father. Belle, being inherently good-natured, struggled with their pleas. She saw her father regaining his strength each day, but her sister's constant insinuations made her doubt. Was he truly better, or was he putting on a brave face for her? The conflict raged within her heart, Her promise to the beast weighed heavily on her, a solemn oath she felt honor-bound to keep. But the image of her father, frail and alone, was equally powerful. Each day, as the week wore on, the internal struggle intensified. Her sisters, seeing their plan taking root, became bolder. They would talk about the beast in hushed, terrified tones, emphasizing his monstrousness, reminding her of the potential dangers if she returned. "He is a beast, Belle," they would whisper, "a monster. He will surely hurt you if you go back. Stay here. Stay safe with your family." Their constant pressure, combined with her love for her father, made her hesitate. The week was quickly drawing to a close, and each sunset brought with it a renewed pang of guilt and indecision. Belle kept checking the magical ring the beast had given her, its smooth surface a constant reminder of her oath. She looked at her father, who, though still weak, was clearly improving with her loving care. He, too, felt the pull of her promise. But her sister's incessant chatter made him reluctant to urge her to leave. He wanted her to stay, even if it meant risking the beast's wrath. As the 7th day dawned, Belle's heart was a maelstrom of conflicting emotions. Her father seemed much better, almost fully recovered, a testament to her devoted nursing. But her sisters continued their relentless barrage of manipulation. "Oh, Belle, just one more day," they pleaded. "He needs you here. Truly, the beast will surely wait." For a moment she wavered. The thought of extending her stay, of having a few more precious hours with her father, was tempting. She looked at her sisters, their faces etched with what she perceived as genuine concern, unaware of the insidious envy lurking beneath. Perhaps, she thought, just one more day wouldn't hurt. The beast seemed kind. Perhaps he would understand. But then, as she glanced into the enchanted mirror he had given her, hoping to catch a glimpse of the castle, she saw something that pierced her heart with overwhelming dread. The mirror showed her not the grand hall or the library, but the beast himself. He lay in the castle gardens, near the very bed of roses where her father had plucked his fateful bloom. He was stretched out on the ground, still and lifeless, his shaggy head resting on the cold earth, his eyes closed. The last remaining petal of the magical rose, the one she knew symbolized his life and the curse upon him, had fallen from its stem and lay withered beside him. He looked utterly desolate, dying of a broken heart, just as he had promised. A wave of profound horror and guilt washed over Belle. She had broken her promise. She had let him down. The realization of her sister's manipulation hit her with blinding clarity. They had delayed her, not out of love for her, but out of cruel self-interest. The beast was dying because of her. The sight in the enchanted mirror jolted Belle with a force that stole her breath. Her heart, which had been so torn by doubt and manipulated by her sisters, now beat with a single, undeniable urgency. The image of the dying beast, forlorn and still on the cold earth, was etched into her mind, erasing all lingering hesitation. The betrayal of her sisters, their cruel machinations laid bare by the beast's suffering, burned with a bitter sting. She had broken her solemn promise, and now the kind, lonely creature, who had shown her such unexpected tenderness, was paying the ultimate price. "No!" she cried out, her voice filled with anguish and a desperate resolve. Her father and sisters, startled by her sudden outburst, looked at her in confusion. "I must go," she declared, her eyes wide with fear and remorse. "The beast is dying. I promised him I would return, and I have betrayed him." Without another word, she pulled the simple gold ring from her pocket, the ring the beast had given her with so much trust. Her fingers trembled as she slipped it onto her finger, her mind fixed solely on reaching him, on making amends, on saving him, if she could. In an instant, the cozy confines of the cottage melted away, replaced by the cool, silent air of the beast's castle gardens. The transition was swift and disorienting. But Belle's gaze immediately fell upon the figure she had seen in the mirror. There he was, exactly as she had witnessed, lying utterly motionless near the rose bed, his shaggy fur blending with the muted winter colors of the dormant garden. His breath was shallow, almost imperceptible, his dark eyes closed, his mighty chest barely rising and falling. The last petal of the enchanted rose, withered and frail, lay beside him on the frozen ground, a stark symbol of his fading life. A sob escaped Belle's lips as she rushed to his side, stumbling on the uneven ground. She fell to her knees beside him, her hands reaching out to touch his coarse fur, which was surprisingly cold. "Beast! Oh, Beast, please don't die," she pleaded, her voice choked with tears. "I'm here. I've come back. Please, open your eyes." She cradled his large head in her lap, her fingers gently stroking his mane, tears falling freely onto his unresponsive face. All her earlier fears, all her hesitations had vanished, replaced by an overwhelming tide of concern and a profound, undeniable feeling she had only just recognized. "I am so sorry, Beast," she whispered, her voice cracking with emotion. "I should never have left you. I know now. I know that I love you." The words, spoken from the depths of her heart, hung in the crisp, cold air, a powerful confession of a love that had blossomed unexpectedly, quietly, beneath the layers of fear and loneliness. It was a love that saw beyond the monstrous exterior, straight into the suffering soul within. As her tearful declaration echoed through the silent garden, a shimmering light, ethereal and golden, began to envelope the beast. It pulsed softly, growing brighter, radiating warmth and a gentle hum that permeated the very air around them. Belle watched in stunned amazement as the light intensified, swirling around the beast's massive form. She felt a strange heat, a tingling sensation, as if the magic itself was alive. Slowly, impossibly, the beast's shaggy fur began to recede. His sharp claws softened, his fearsome features transformed. His massive head shrank, reshaping into a handsome human face. His broad shoulders narrowed, his monstrous limbs became slender. The transformation was agonizingly beautiful, a kaleidoscope of light and shifting forms. Belle shielded her eyes for a moment, then looked back, utterly spellbound. Where the beast had lain, a handsome young man now lay in her lap, his features refined and noble, his eyes now a warm, intelligent blue, slowly fluttering open. He was no longer a monster, but a prince, as regal and elegant as any from the finest fairy tales. He looked at Belle, his gaze filled with wonder and profound gratitude. "Belle," he whispered, his voice no longer a growl, but smooth and melodic. "You have broken the spell. Your love, pure and selfless, has saved me." The young prince rose, and Belle, still reeling from the sudden wondrous transformation, stood with him. He explained the ancient curse, a punishment inflicted upon him by a powerful enchantress for his vanity and cruelty. He had been transformed into a beast, condemned to remain so until he could find someone who would love him for who he truly was, despite his monstrous appearance, before the last petal of the enchanted rose fell. He looked at her, his eyes shining with newly found hope and adoration. "You, Belle, were that person. You saw beyond the outer shell, beyond the beast, to the heart that longed for kindness." As they stood there, a joyous peal of bells rang out from the castle, echoing through the now vibrant garden. The castle itself seemed to come alive. Lights blazed in every window, and unseen voices cheered with delight. The air was filled with an invisible magic, a sense of celebration. Belle, still holding the prince's hand, felt a warmth spread through her, a happiness she had never known. In the days that followed, the castle was indeed transformed, filled with laughter and song, as servants, who had also been enchanted into inanimate objects, regained their human forms. Belle's father, upon hearing the joyous news, returned to the castle, his frail health fully restored by the miracle, and was overjoyed to see his daughter, safe and beloved by a handsome prince. Belle's sisters, filled with shame and regret, also witnessed the miracle, their envy replaced, if only for a moment, by genuine awe. Belle and the prince, now truly free, were soon married in a magnificent ceremony, celebrated by all the kingdom. Belle, the quiet girl who loved books, found her true calling as a wise and beloved queen. She had looked beyond appearances, listened to her heart, and discovered that true beauty lies not in physical perfection, but in kindness, courage, and the capacity for love. She and the prince ruled their kingdom with wisdom and compassion, their lives a testament to the enduring power of love to break even the most ancient and powerful curses. And they lived happily ever after, their story told and retold, a timeless reminder that love, in its purest form, always finds a way. As the night deepens and the last whispers of this enchanting tale begin to fade, allow your mind to drift gently with the images of Belle and her prince. Their journey, filled with trials and transformations, reminds us that the greatest treasures are often found in the most unexpected places, and that true beauty shines from within. Feel the peaceful stillness settling around you, letting the gentle magic of their happily ever after lull you into a soft calm. Let the quiet joy of their story wrap around you like a warm blanket, easing any worries from your mind. As you close your eyes, imagine the starlit sky above the enchanted castle, a peaceful, silent witness to a love that changed everything. Drift off now, carried by the lingering echoes of this fairy tale, into a realm of sweet dreams and peaceful slumber. May your sleep be as serene and as beautiful as the story we've shared tonight.